A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Pendrith ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament, also seeking his first PGA Tour victory. He went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a one-shot lead, and he was there in two, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that, like, all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Like, why? What was your affiliation with the Oilers? Like, Canucks still exist. Like, I don't lose automatically and say, yeah, you know, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because they're Canadian. No, I cheer for my bats.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in Game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking. I see a minus 115 Canes, Rangers minus 105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the second or third inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome to hour number 3, live right here on this Thursday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. Plenty to get to here, even in our third and final hour. 1 game in the NBA postseason tonight, but 2 on the ice in the Stanley Cup Playoffs. We'll have Pete Jensen from the NHL here in our final half hour of the show in just a little bit. We'll go around Major League Baseball first with Craig Mish, and then Donnie will give you some looks for this short Thursday slate. And of course, we continue our reactions to one second-round series already being in the books. That's Boston over Cleveland. And what is next for the Cavaliers and maybe the man known as Spider?
Yeah, good hour here to get with here also. What is on the move here for Spider Mitchell, and who dominates the NBA, and where will you find out? A little bit of a segue for what we're going to talk about next. But also, we need to get the ice advice today. We need to see where some of these actions are going, because the New York Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes got an unbelievably good series going on, and there are some looks today in Major League Baseball, which includes a game that's going to start early in the afternoon. Can we get any runs out of the Twins today? Come on and find out.
Maybe so. They've only scored 1 so far in the first 2 games in Minneapolis against the New York Yankees. But as we shared earlier in the show, FanDuel Shams Charania, really the first to kind of dive into what is next for Cleveland. JB Bickerstaff really helped turn around this team, but there's been a certain ceiling in the postseason for this group with the Cavaliers and Donovan Mitchell. Now his future being examined. Shams was the first to share it out. Then ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski pretty much saying the Cavaliers plan to take some time to evaluate J.B. Bickerstaff's future, but the organization remains fond of him and the marketplace is sparse of proven candidates. There will be a lot of conversations around his future in Cleveland. Donnie, I'm not so sure what happens to J.B. Bickerstaff, but if these conversations start immediately after the end of a season, I don't often think it's a good thing for Bickerstaff returning to the land.
No, it's not. And we have to understand in the NBA, you are hired to be fired. You're not supposed to stick around for how long like Greg Popovich sticks around here in San Antonio. That's not the norm. The norm is 3 to 4 years. Your voice burns out in the locker room. You get fired. You become an assistant coach for a year. Then you get another job somewhere else as long as you're a legitimate coach with a decent track record at this point. It's not surprising in the NBA at the end of a season when things aren't going according to plan. It's usually the coach you can move on from, not the superstar player. Because last time I checked, they're not going to fill up the arena because we have a certain coach on the sideline as opposed to that certain superstar that would be on the court.
So as I see it right now, I'm missing one guy. I believe there's only 5 current NBA coaches still in their spot that were hired prior to 2020. Of course, Greg Popovich, the longest tenured in the NBA. He's been in San Antonio since 1996. Eric Spoelstra has been in Miami for 16 years, since 2008. Steve Kerr, hired in Golden State, has been there for a decade, since May of 2014. You also look at Michael Malone with the Denver Nuggets, 2015, and Taylor Jenkins, they're in Memphis since 2019. Every other coach, 2020 or later, less than half a decade with their team. Some coaches hire in 2020 before that season got underway, maybe there 4 or 5 years. But that shows the short lifespan you can have, even with success, even reaching the playoffs, what that certain cap is going to be for your overall success. Now we go to Donovan Mitchell, who, of course, will be the main focus of this offseason, JB Bickerstaff or otherwise, at the head coaching spot for Cleveland. According to our guy, Evan Sidery, who got this information from Brian Windhorst of ESPN, the Lakers and the Nets already have offers prepared for Donovan Mitchell if he requests a trade from the Cavs this offseason. If Spider declines an extension offer from Cleveland, all indications are he is going to be moved. So that leads us, Donnie, into the question that we had to ask the people on this Thursday morning. Where does Donovan Mitchell play his NBA basketball next season? Find out and Fade the Public. At SportsGrid on Twitter, what team will Spider play for next year? The Cavaliers, the Lakers, the Nets, or listed as other? The Lakers getting most votes in this Fade the Public poll, nearly 34%. The Cavaliers at 24%, and the Nets at about 10.5%. But right behind the Lakers in terms of individual teams, that was listed as other, 31.5%. That's what I voted for. Our guy Mammoth Hops saying the Miami Heat as well. What did Donnie Rightside select?
Yeah, I actually selected the Lakers, 33.9%. I think it makes the most sense here. And also, no disrespect to Cleveland. As I say that, you know they're about to get some disrespect right now. You want to live elsewhere in Cleveland, right? I mean, if LeBron James didn't want to stay there long-term, why would Donovan Mitchell want to stay there long-term in Cleveland? Yes, the price is going to be right and the most money can be afforded there in Cleveland. I get that. But these guys make so much money now. Wouldn't you rather move to like a Miami or a Los Angeles just to live in a better place with some better weather here and the chance to actually win basketball games as opposed to Cleveland? And hey, look, sometimes the truth does hurt at this point. Yes, LeBron James did come back and win that championship. That's probably all you're going to see from Cleveland because it's not really a destination city for players in the NBA. That's just the way we live today in 2024. So I picked the Lakers there just based on, and by the way, why are the Nets even in there? What are the Nets? The Nets could give ownership, actual ownership over to Donovan Mitchell, and he should avoid the Nets here. I always joke, right? Hey, you get hired by the Nets as a coach. Yeah, you'd be fired in 2 years. When has it worked out? We saw the old Celtics squad migrate over to Brooklyn, and it was terrible. We saw Kevin Durant and Kyrie join forces with James Harden, and it was terrible the way that ended. Nobody's going to Brooklyn, and rightfully so. Like, you're either going to play for the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden, or you're not going there at all. It's the Lakers for me, Ben. 33%. We're not fading the public. We're rolling with the public today.
Well, he's got those New York City ties. And before he went to Cleveland, if you remember, for Donovan Mitchell, he was rumored to be that top target for the New York Knicks a couple of summers ago. Instead, the Knicks ended up with Jalen Brunson. Many people said the Knicks as an organization is dead. They fail to attract top talent. Donovan Mitchell made his way to the land. Jalen Brunson has turned out to be a pretty solid investment for the New York Knicks. I voted for other. Why? because I think the Knicks have shown they're a superstar away from truly being an NBA title contender. And I'm not sure how it would look systematically or in terms of the orchestration of an offense to have both Spida and Brunson in the same lineup. But give me Donovan Mitchell playing his home games inside Madison Square Garden in 2024.
How about that? That would be interesting to think about. Now, granted, I think we can all say, like, we don't think he's coming back to the Cavaliers, but having said that, 24% of the votes say he is coming back. Typically, when a superstar ends it so unceremoniously, the way their season ended here, sitting out with injury, he's probably looking for his next move, and you can't fault him. When money's not really an object, and you can basically pick your city and see a better franchise for yourself, you're going to be out the door, and again, I can't fault the guy for doing that.
Yeah. Absolutely so. And if he turns down what I believe is a player option, that would leave it in the hands of the organization. If he turns down that player option, then it's pretty much a way for him to say, I'm not happy with the direction here in Cleveland. And this young Cavs lineup is interesting. Donovan Mitchell was seen as that piece to elevate Cleveland, to maybe make them a team that could contend for an Eastern Conference crown, and yet never really lived up to that level of expectation. So what happens with Evan Mobley? What happens with Darius Garland? What happens with Jarrett Allen? Could the Cavs be in for a complete remake? There was a guy in Cleveland, though, at a game, I think, in this second-round series that I think is from the area. LeBron James, wasn't he there for this series against the Celtics? Does that mean anything? Could LeBron make? No,
Probably
come
buying
on, right?
the team.
No.
That's about it.
Yeah,
What else is he doing in Cleveland? There's nothing. By the way, there's nothing to do in Cleveland here. Nothing. So there you go. We don't know what LeBron was doing.
You don't have to be mean.
There's
Dude.
nothing to do in Cleveland. I have to be. Terrible baseball stadium. Everything's bad about that place. Everything.
No, I will not diminish Cleveland, Ohio.
The mistake
I believe
on the lake.
in Cleveland, Ohio. The lake seems pretty nice. More on the early line next.
A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Pendrith ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament. Also seeking his first PGA Tour victory, he went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a one-shot lead, and he was there in two, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that like all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Like, why? What was your affiliation with the Oilers? Like, Canucks still exist. Like, I don't lose automatically and say, yeah, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because they're Canadian. No, I cheer for my bats.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in Game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking. I see a -115 Canes, Rangers -105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the second or third inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Listen, we're going to need a minute here on this Thursday on the early line on SportsGrid as we hit the commercial break. Donnie Rightside mentioned the New York Giants just unveiled some historic alternates for 2 games this season in 2024, known as Century Red, and they are abysmal looking. I don't often get caught in the uniform conversations or slander, but they're that bad. Craig Mish, did you see these jerseys as well? They are just awful. I'm sure they're going to lead off Newswire today, and I would expect it to be nothing but slander.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we do on the show. We try to focus on jersey updates on Newswire at the topic. It's really that's what gets people really engaged in sports. But I did see some of it. Look, yesterday was that day that everybody's putting out social media videos and doing the schedule. One of my least favorite days is the schedule release day. Not because of the jerseys or anything like that. Yeah, I just can't stand it. And the reason why is because, look, I was a part of local talk radio for like 25 years and did what everyone is still doing today, which is you get the release, and then all of a sudden we're playing this game of that's a win, that's a loss, that's a win, that's a loss. And it is the most, to me, it's like as I've gotten older, I've realized, my gosh, like that is just like straight up destroying your listeners and viewers for doing that for 15 minutes. So I tune out usually when it comes to that.
Well, let's talk Eagles schedule, Craig. Come on now. We'll win by
win.
Game by game.
That's a loss. That's a win. That's a loss. That's a win. That's a loss.
Donnie, bring us to another game in Philadelphia. You
know what? I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know if I want to take a look at baseball today. I need a little bit more on these uniforms. And I wish in the back that we could clip these up. I'm waiting for Guy Lafleur and Patrick Waugh out here to come out and sort of be the fashion guys for this uniform that looks exactly like the Montreal Canadiens over the past couple years. But as we digress, let's get to that baseball talk, because instead of talking about terrible organizations like the New York Giants, let's talk about the best organization in baseball, Craig. That's the Philadelphia Phillies. Why? Wins and losses equal success. The Philadelphia Phillies are continuously getting it done right now. They did it last night. They're going to take on, again, the New York Mets today. Look for a 4-game short series sweep, home and home set. Quintana's going to be on the mound, the lefty for those Mets. Taijuan Walker going against his old team for the Phillies, and the Phillies are a favorite today. Do we see a 4-game set sweep here for the Phillies over the Mets?
You would have to say probably. I mean, right now the Phillies are the hottest team in baseball, and they're pitching extraordinarily well. They're hitting the ball. We have, Bohm is a potential MVP candidate. Bryce Harper's always an MVP candidate. And look, I've seen them up close and personal. Their starting pitching is going very deep into games. Maybe indeed that is the recipe for success in Major League Baseball, is getting your pitchers to go 7 or 8 innings, and maybe nothing else matters, not leaving it to the bullpen. That's what the Phillies have essentially done. Outside of that start that Wheeler had, which was shocking, Donnie, on Sunday against Miami. I don't know what happened in that game. But beyond that, the Phillies have just been fantastic. And look, I think the Mets are about a 500 team, maybe a little bit better, a little bit worse, but you can only beat who's on the schedule, so to speak. And the Phillies are doing just that.
And they have the most wins in all of the bigs at 31. Late night in Los Angeles as a part of this short Thursday slate. Tyler Glasnow gets the start for the Dodgers, and it's reflected in the price. LA a minus 310 favorite as of this moment on the FanDuel Sportsbook, starting a 4-game weekend set in Los Angeles against the Reds. Now, Cincy, Craig, has dropped 12 of their last 14 games. It doesn't seem as though it will be any easier in LA. Will it be on cruise control for the Dodgers tonight against the Reds?
I mean, look, it's a minus 300, so far be it from me to do anything except for look at a run and a half, maybe. I mean, you could do an alternate -2 or -2 runs and a half. It was really interesting, I thought, yesterday, maybe it was the day before, that the manager of the National League All-Star team, Torey Lovello, I don't know if you guys caught this, but he added David Bell to his roster, and they're good buddies and have been together forever. Usually what happens, by the way, when a manager requests another manager to join the staff, it's because they're having a little bit of a shaky time. And that is definitely the case for David Bell. The Reds have just been underperforming all season long. Their expectation was, hey, look, maybe we finish 500, maybe a little bit better. It has not gone as planned, and now Nick Lodolo's on the injured list. So the vibes are not good in Cincinnati, and the Dodgers are tough to beat. So, simply put, I'm not going to take the money line with the Reds, but at the same time, I don't lay a run and a half usually with the home team ever. Usually, if I'm going to do that, I would take a shot with the team on the road to get that extra run.
Teams playing well in Major League Baseball this year for the regular season race right now. The Phillies with 31 wins, followed by the Yankees at 29, the Orioles at 27, Dodgers 29, Braves 26, and the Guardians at 27. Teams that we pretty much expected to be at the top of the standings here. Are there any surprises to you, Craig? For me, being a Phillies fan, I'm surprised the Phillies have 31-13 as a record because we usually wait till late August and September to start playing our best baseball. But everybody else on there, we're pretty much expected those teams.
Yeah, look, I think the Twins have been a surprise because they started off so poorly and have all of a sudden picked it up. Lately, the Rockies have been a positive surprise to win as many games as they have too, taking care of San Diego. That sort of came out of nowhere too. And on the negative perspective, look, I think the team that we didn't think would be in the conversation of trading players would be the Toronto Blue Jays. Like, they're really in a pickle right now. I mean, you would think that their window is now and has been and probably will be, but they're just not winning. So. Houston, from a negative perspective, too, they seem to be getting a little bit better, but nothing is out of the ordinary, I would say, this year. Maybe Oakland winning as many games as they did early on, as we've talked about, guys. Next weekend, when we start doing the shows after Memorial Day, we take a really definitive look as to who's in and who's out.
How about those Royals? 26 wins for KC, very much on track to go over a win total of 73.5 that Craig, Mish, and I are equally invested in. So, Craig, as we look elsewhere around MLB, really good pitching matchup tonight in the friendly confines. In the final 40 seconds of this segment, who gets the better tonight in Chicago? Justin Steele for the Cubbies, Jared Jones, the Rook, for the Buccos.
Yeah, I mainly, Pittsburgh's not playing good ball, okay, at all. But I may lean Pittsburgh here. Steele, remember, is not getting deep enough into games, I think, to make a huge impact. And while the Cubs bullpen has been good, I think Jones is definitely right now the hotter starter of the two. So I probably would lean a little toward the road team tonight. The Cubs have had all kinds of issues in the ninth inning as well. Steele later on in the season, guys, he's going to be an 8-inning pitcher, maybe even a 9-inning pitcher. But coming off the injured list, he's made a few starts. I still would probably be hesitant to take the Cubs today.
Chicago's starting staff this year has been really good. All right, Craig, you got about 40 minutes to really dive into the Giants Century red jersey. We look forward to that on Newswire at 11 a.m. Eastern. More on the early line next.
A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Pendrith ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament. Also seeking his first PGA Tour victory, he went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a one-shot lead, and he was there in two, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that, like, all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Like, why? What was your affiliation with the Oilers? Like, Canucks still exist. Like, I don't lose automatically and say, yeah, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because they're Canadian. No, I cheer for my bad team.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in Game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking. I see a -115 Canes, Rangers -105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the second or third inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
A short Thursday slate around Major League Baseball. Only 6 games on the card as of this moment as the rest of the bigs get ready for a weekend ahead. But the series finale of 3 during the midweek in Minneapolis between the Twins and the Yankees. The Yanks have won both games to start this series 5-1 on Tuesday, 4-0 yesterday, led by Aaron Judge. The Twins at home, Donnie, have only scored 1 run in 2 games. Does that change with some afternoon baseball on this Thursday in Minnesota? The Twins booked as a slight home favorite, minus 116 on the money line. Total is 8. Are we going to see some offense out of Minnesota?
Here's what's interesting about this one. You take a look at Clark Schmidt, who's been decent this season. On the whole season, 174 batters. But let's take a look at what he's been doing from the first half of the season to just the last 30 days. In the last 30 days, he's really taking it on the chin right now with left-handed batters. A 244 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 364. But he's been electric against right-handed batters. Now, the lineup just came out, as I'm looking here, for the Minnesota Twins. And the interesting part is most of the key ingredients are in this lineup, and it is a lot of left-handed batters, which you're going to like. But the best batter in the lineup is Ryan Jeffers. Even over the last 30 days, Ben. 421 ISO power number to 449 weighted on-base percentage against right-handed pitching. Now, I just told you, Clark Schmidt's been very good against right-handed batters, but typically you like your best guy in there. But he is a catcher. He's not in the lineup today, so maybe an extra lefty will get in there. Once these lineups sort of formulate, and I can see the statistics on that, I sure can make some changes. But a lot of left-handed bats in the lineup. Minnesota should be game in this one. If we flip it over to the other side and take a look at the Yankee batters in this game, you're saying to yourself, all right, who should be able to provide what we need at the plate? Well, granted, a lot of these guys are starting to get hot. First 6 batters in the lineup, every single one of them is a 167 or higher ISO power number against right-handed pitching. But if we look at the season, Joe Ryan hasn't been that bad. Combined ISO power number, 159. Weighted on base percentage, 279. That's really good here. 65-degree temperatures, but finally, wind was blowing in yesterday, blowing dead out to center field at 10 miles per hour. Maybe a team total is a look today for the Minnesota Twins. They got to score sooner or later. They have left-handed bats. They should be able to get some today.
4th and final game of a divisional duel during this week in Fenway between the Red Sox and the Rays. The Rays have won games 1 and 3. Boston victorious in game 2. Can they get the series split of 4 today? It's been a pick'em in the series. It's a pick'em in the 4th and final game today. Minus 108 now on FanDuel on both sides. Total is 8. What gives in Boston?
Rain in the forecast, Ben, about 55 degrees, wind blowing in 9 miles per hour, probably looking more towards an under in this environment. Zach Littell will be on the mound, and over the past 30 days, he's been good. ISO power number you'd like to look at is a 118, well below average. His weighted on base percentage, 315. That's just under average, so he's been pretty good. First 4 batters in the lineup today do look decent for the Red Sox, but again, it's all about who that pitcher is going to be and can you take advantage of that. Cooper Criswell on the opposite side here for the Boston Red Sox. 83 batters he's faced, Ben, in the last 30 days. How about this? A 141 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 266. If we take a look at his season-long numbers, doesn't walk too many guys, strikes out around 25%. We're probably looking at an under today in Fenway with those weather conditions and with those pitchers.
We've seen at least 7 runs in all 3 games so far between Tampa and Boston, but every pregame total has been 8 or higher, so we have stayed under in all 3 games so far. Are the Astros starting to turn things around? Houston has won 4 straight. Houston has won 5 of its last 6. Can they complete the sweep this week over Oakland? It's greater than a $2 favored chance to do just that. Christian Javier on the bump for the Stros, minus 210. That hefty favorite money line price. Will it be 5 in a row for the Astros?
It probably will be. And yesterday, a little bit disappointing for me. I thought the Astros would win, which they did, and they got a shutout. But I thought they would score 5 runs in that game against a journeyman that was on the mound. Didn't happen, even though they scored 2 runs in the first inning. If we take a look at today, Estes will be on the mound here as we're anticipating for the Oakland Athletics. Not many statistics, but not a very good pitcher. Just a matter of Houston can scrape out a couple runs. And as I say that, though, Christian Javier on the opposite side, he hasn't been all that good this season and hasn't been that good in the last 30 days, which he has missed some time with. If you're looking in the middle of that lineup here for the Astros, who could they get out? It would be Rooker, Langoliers, and Soderstrom there. Those are the RBI guys for the Oakland Athletics. For Houston, which I got an RBI taken away last night from Kyle Tucker, who in the first inning had a double, but they chose to give an error and no RBI. He's probably the best of it as well today. Kyle Tucker should be a good RBI shot again for the Astros.
A doubleheader of Stanley Cup playoff action on the ice on this Thursday. Looking back on one game last night and previewing two on this Thursday. Pete Jensen from the NHL will join us next to do just that.
A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Pendrith ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament. Also seeking his first PGA Tour victory, he went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a one-shot lead, and he was there in two, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that like all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Like, why? What was your affiliation with the Oilers? Like, Canucks still exist. Like, I don't lose automatically and say, yeah, you know, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because of the Canadian. No, I cheer for my bats.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in Game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking. I see a minus 115 Canes, Rangers minus 105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the second or third inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
On the ice we go. One game last night in the Stanley Cup postseason, and it was sensational. 2 more ahead on this Thursday. We need some guy in here to do the heavy lifting, and that's why we call on Pete Jensen from the NHL. He joins us on this Thursday to look back and forward in a huge and monumental time as we near the close of the second-round series around the Stanley Cup playoffs. Pete, we appreciate the time on this Thursday. Thanks for joining us on the early line.
Anytime, guys. And yeah, I'm excited because all 4 of these series have a real possibility of going to 7 games, which leads to a ton of drama. I thought the game last night between Dallas and Colorado might have been my favorite game to watch of the entire season so far. So let's keep it going here, guys.
And what a game it was. Series clinching scenario for Dallas. The Avs on the brink of elimination as we went back to Dallas in Game 5. The Stars were booked as a minus 144 home money line favorite. Took an early 2-1 lead, Pete, before everything turned. Colorado wins game number 5, keeps this series afloat and their season alive with a 5-3 win. How did the Avs turn things around last night in Dallas?
Well, it was the bread and butter, right? It was the Cale Makars, Nathan McKinnons, Mikko Rantanens. They had all been quiet in the series up until that point. But do or die scenario, Valerie Nichushkin kind of, let the team down in that he's not with the team for the second straight year. He's suspended in the NHLPA Player Assistance Program. Hopefully he gets on track for the future. But for here and now, Colorado does not have as much depth as it did in its championship year in 2022. Huge performance, I thought, from a secondary scorer, Arturi Lekin, and especially that buzzer beater at the end of the first period. I mean, it was so important for the Avs to keep the momentum going and answer back when Dallas scored, and they were able to do that in a monster third period by the Avs to just remind everybody that those champions from 2 years ago, they're not going down without a fight here.
Yeah. Take a look at that series pricing now as we look here. It looks like the favorite is the 4-2 Dallas is the series finale at a plus 102 price. But if we're looking just on money line and who can win it here, it's still a decided advantage here for the Dallas Stars. Is that what you're seeing on your side here, Pete? Is there a legitimate chance that the Avalanche, with Mac and Mac out there, Makar and McKinnon, can come back and win this bad boy?
There's definitely a chance. I mean, they've been arguably the best home team in the league in the regular season. They were like 31-10. Somehow between injuries, Devon Taves was out with the illness. He came back for Game 5. That was huge for Colorado. And I mentioned the Nichushkin absence in Game 4 and 5, and he's done for the rest of the season. So, I mean, those were backbreaking to the Avalanche. That's why they lost the 2 home games so far in the series. But when you look big picture and say Dallas, arguably the deepest team left standing in the playoffs right now, they're only 3-4 at home in the playoffs. That's a problem. And to me, the fact that Colorado has won 2 out of 3 games in Big D makes me think that they would have the motivation, they would have the confidence to do it again if it goes the distance and goes to Game 7. So I think Colorado, whether it's on the live line or the puck line in Game 6, or maybe even Game 7 if they get that far, they're certainly live to win this series.
We head to Denver tomorrow night in game number 6, where at the moment the Avalanche are a slight home ice favorite. Pete, the Western Conference very much up in the air. Dallas still holds that 3-2 series advantage over Colorado, but the Avs, of course, as we share, keep their season afloat. In the other set, it was expected to be easy for Edmonton. It has been anything but. That series tied at 2 games apiece as we get ready for game number 5 tonight in Vancouver. Here are the Western Conference title odds at this moment. Pete, do you have any idea who's going to emerge out of the West when all is said and done?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, right, to see who Edmonton plays in Game 5 after Calvin Pickard got them over the hump and back to tie the series. The NHL journeyman with a huge performance in his first playoff game of his career. So I think maybe they go with the hot hand there, but Stuart Skinner got them to this point after the coaching change. Remember that correlated with a bounce back for Skinner after the slow start to the season, and they've turned back to him in years past. I remember they did it last year. So I think that they would probably go back to Skinner at some point if they do lose a game to Vancouver. But Vancouver has dominated this season series. Only 1 regulation victory for the Oilers in 8 tries against Vancouver this season. So that kind of is hanging over their head a little bit. Edmonton did have the road win in Game 2 in Vancouver in overtime, but still, this has been heavily in Vancouver's favor. And to me, the 5-on-5 goal battle is so huge. We know Edmonton can work it on the power play. We know they have the 3 highest scoring players in the playoffs this season with Draisaitl, McDavid, and Bouchard. But show me what you got at 5-on-5. Otherwise, Vancouver might win this thing.
Let's get after it tonight. A double header tonight. Rangers, Hurricanes, Oilers, Canucks. Let's focus on the late night battle between the Oilers and Canucks. This series is tied at 2. Vancouver, home ice advantage tonight, but a favorite for Edmonton. Who's going to take that commanding 3-2 series lead when it's all said and done tonight, Pete?
It's tough to say. It's been tight. I feel like Vancouver has been the more consistent team all season long. I'm not saying they're going to win the series, but I fully expect Vancouver to win one of the next 2 games. If Edmonton's going to win this series, I think it's going to be in 7. We've seen Vancouver play well at home, despite dire straits, playing with third-string goalie Seelovs and stuff like that. Then Thatcher Demko sounds like he's getting better, but he's not quite ready to play just yet. So they're riding with the third stringer, and they've been just fine, whether it was the Nashville series or this Edmonton series. So again, I expect this series to go 7, and I think Edmonton's going to really have to sweat it out if they get over the hump.
So the first game of the doubleheader tonight, things are getting just a tad bit nervy in New York. The Canes have been in an 0-3 hole. They win game 4 and then head back to the Garden and win game 5, which means game 6 is tonight in Raleigh, North Carolina. Once again, in the Hurricanes, Pete, a pretty hefty home ice favorite, minus 174 on the money line. Carolina down 0-3. The Rangers won the first 3 games of this series. All 3 of the opening games decided by a single goal. Now Carolina has answered with 2 consecutive victories. What changed in this series?
I think a little bit of cleaned up play on Carolina's end, couple of key, special teams plays. The power play got a boost by Brady Shea in that one game. And I think they've reminded the Rangers that there was never that big of a discrepancy between these two teams. Even when New York jumped out to the 3-0 series lead, 2 of those victories were in overtime, the one in double overtime. And so far in the series, 4 of the first 5 games have been 1-goal games. So, really, it's super tight. Carolina's got its confidence back. They haven't won much at home in the series. So I think that, they have a great chance to win this game and force 7 and really put the ball in the Rangers' court. Carolina, I expected to go to the Cup final all year long. So I'm not really surprised at all by this resiliency that they've shown against the odds.
If we see game number 7, whoa.
Take it.
If we do see a game number 7 here in Madison Square Garden for all the marbles, who we trust in more? Which goaltender would you rather have in a game number 7 in this series?
I'd rather have Igor, but I think I trust I think I trust the Hurricanes more in terms of their overall depth and their possession style. They've heavily outshot the Rangers in this series. They have an 11-9 edge in the 5-on-5 goal battle, despite the negative vibes that were going on through the first 3 games and not being able to finish and stuff like that. I think a major player to watch, Jake Gensel, leads the series in shots on goal. He's a finisher from the past in Pittsburgh. That's why they got him at the deadline. I wouldn't be surprised to see him score a big goal in game 6 or game 7 to tilt the scale a little bit.
Pete Jensen from the NHL, a wonderful breakdown as always. So the NBA playoffs next.
A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Pendrith ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament. Also seeking his first PGA Tour victory, he went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a 1-shot lead, and he was there in 2, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Why? What was your affiliation with the Oilers? Canucks still exist. I don't lose automatically and say, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because they're Canadian. No, I cheer for my bats.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking. I see a minus 115 Canes, Rangers minus 105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in the second or third inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
For the first time in what feels like a very long time, maybe the first time in this NBA postseason, only one game to break down for you on this Thursday. It's a monumental matchup in Minneapolis, do not get me wrong, but only one game. Tips at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time tonight in the Twin Cities. It is game number 6 between Denver and Minnesota. The Nuggets 1 win away from their second consecutive appearance in the Western Conference Finals. Minnesota needs a win or their season comes to a close tonight. The odds makers have the Timberwolves booked as a slight 2.5-point home favorite. Total is at 205. Donnie, right side, look into your crystal ball. As one of the foremost premier NBA handicappers on this network, tell us what happens. Does Minnesota force a Game 7 back in the Mile High City, or is Denver dancing to the Western Conference Finals?
I'll tell you, it's nice to have a standalone game. And also, for this segment, Ben, do we have enough talent to make it through here? Do we need multiple guests to help us along to talk about this NBA game? I think we'll be okay. I think we will be okay in this one. Here's the tough part about it. I talked this when Coach came on. We saw like a lightning bolt coming into the playoffs here. The Minnesota Timberwolves, I mean, clowned the Suns, very talented Suns team in round number 1, and then went on home court here for Denver and beat them up over 2 games. We thought they were moving forward to the Western Conference Finals, and 3 losses later, you're now on the brink of elimination. I need to see how this basketball team is going to come out, and also we'll give Coach props. First quarter, right? You need to have a big effort in your first quarter at home to keep that crowd involved and say, you know what? Even though we just lost 3 straight to the reigning NBA champions, we can still win this series. But if I'm looking at it from a betting perspective, and how many times have I told you this, Ben? Taking a correlated look, if you like Minnesota tonight, why is Minnesota going in this game? Because Karl Anthony Towns scores 44 points? No, it's Anthony Edwards. You take a look at his points prop tonight, it's 29.5. You tell me right now, Ben, Anthony Edwards scores 24 points, what that final score is going to be. They lose that game, and they're knocked out of the playoffs. If he scores 34 points, there's no guarantee they win. If he scores 44, there's still no guarantee that he wins. But what I need tonight is that usage rate to be high, the cape to be on, which we know he's talented enough to put that team on his shoulders. That's what I expect tonight. So from a side perspective, it's sort of a cop-out. Am I rooting for the Timberwolves to get a Game 7 in here? Absolutely. But I know better than that. Momentum here, 3 straight wins. The Denver Nuggets have figured out what the Minnesota Timberwolves do well and have put a stop to that. But the one thing I don't think they can stop tonight is we're talking about Anthony Edwards shooting 25-plus times from the floor tonight, which should give him a big effort. I really like him over 29.5 points tonight. I do.
So it's been a very interesting story in this series from the total perspective. First 2 games in Denver. Total was 209 and a hook. The Nuggets did not score 100 on their own home floor. Total stays under. Last 3 games, the total has been virtually this at 205, and all 3 games over. One, because in Game 3, Denver scored 117. In Game number 5, Denver scored 112. Only in Game 4 have we seen both teams get to the century mark, and it sailed over 205. If you think that is Minnesota's recipe, and you think Anthony Edwards does what he did in Game number 4, score 44, albeit in a loss, this total is going over. Again, you do not have much margin if both teams even flirt with 100 to go, or to stay under, I should say, 205. And I think offensively, the Timberwolves give their best effort. And I think defensively, what Minnesota was so strong at doing in the first 2 games has not fared nearly as well here in the last 3. Nikola Jokic is on a warpath. Nikola Jokic is back to that MVP level that he was not really able to find in the opening 2 games in the Mile High City. I don't know what the defensive adjustment is for Chris Finch and the T-Wolves tonight. If you take Rudy Gobert, the 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, off the 3-time NBA MVP. But I don't expect Jokic to stay well under 29.5 either, nor do I for Ant to stay under 29.5. Donnie, I think both teams get to 100 tonight in Game 6. I like the over in Minneapolis.
Yeah, it could be. It really could be. You know me, I usually lean towards the unders late, but we're not talking about an under that's 217.5, and we're talking about 205, which means you would have to have a glacier pace out here to stay under the 205 with not a lot of efficiency when we know there are a couple guys on both of these teams that can certainly fill it up. But it's just a matter of fact, again, getting back to last night, like give me that superstar player in the biggest moment. There's no bigger superstar, at least on the court, when you're taking a look at the MVP here for the Denver Nuggets. If he is going to have a good game, and do we expect anything less? Like, honestly, what's more appropriate tonight? 45, 19, and 13. Like, yeah, that makes some sense. Or if he just goes out and has like 15, 14, and 12. Like, no, we expect the biggest performance in the biggest moment here. And this is one where you don't want to let the Timberwolves hang around. Because the one thing you do know, it's not like, okay, everybody's won on their home court. It's no big deal. We're going home for game number 7. The Timberwolves have won on the home court there for the Denver Nuggets. You want to put that fire out as soon as you can get. Now, when you're looking at price points here, do we expect triple doubles out of here from Nikola Jokic? We always do. It's a plus 200 tonight, but I think we get a monster effort out of him, hoping to close the door on Minnesota. But I want to see how they come out in the first half. And if we're looking at any ways here, give me the big man, Anthony Edwards, in that first quarter, 7, 8, 9 points, and away you go. I think this game is going to be closely contested. I don't really have a side that I love, as opposed to, I said, rooting on the Timberwolves. I think the over 205 does make some sense. But if I'm just looking from a points perspective, give me the two superstars. Both of those guys will have high usage rates. We should get fireworks between those two.
And I'll just say this from the side perspective. Don't take plus 2.5. If you think the Nuggets are the right side as the underdog, just bet the money line at plus 110. It would be a crazy change to see this series decided by 3 points or less. All 5 games so far, at least an 8-point margin. 4 of the 5 by double digits, and pretty considerably so. Of course, Denver was the first home team in this series to win a game. That happened in game number 5. First home team to cover a number then as well. All 3 games Denver has won. Total over because the offenses hit at least 100. The 2 victories for Minnesota, total under, holding Denver to under 100. There are those natural correlations as well. We'll continue to dive into the prop market for this game because I've got my best bet for game number 6 tonight in Minneapolis already locked in. And it features not Nikola Jokic, not Jamal Murray, but Aaron Gordon. Plenty more conversation with the lone NBA playoff game that we have on this Thursday. Denver 1 win away from a second straight Western Conference Finals appearance. Minnesota 1 loss away from its season coming to a close. More next.
A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Pendrith ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament, also seeking his first PGA Tour victory. He went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a 1-shot lead, and he was there in 2, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that like all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Like, why? What was your affiliation with the Oilers? Like, Canucks still exist. Like, I don't lose automatically and say, yeah, you know, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because they're Canadian. No, I cheer for my bad team.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in Game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking. I see a minus 115 Canes, Rangers minus 105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL. Ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the second or third inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Only one NBA playoff game on this Thursday night slate, but it's a huge one in Minnesota. The Timberwolves host the Nuggets. The T-Wolves need a win to stave off elimination and force a Game 7. The Nuggets need a win, and they are back in the Western Conference Finals. Minnesota, a 2.5-point favorite. Over-under is 205. The Stars on both sides both have the same points prop, 29.5 for both Anthony Edwards and Nikola Jokic. I expect both, as does Donnie, to flirt with those numbers. The Joker to record a triple-double, plus 200. What was so funny, DRS, about Nikola Jokic's otherworldly performance in game number 5, 40 points, 13 dimes, is he fell 3 rebounds shy of a triple-double. Game 5 was the first time you stayed away from that triple-double prop in quite some time. And you wouldn't expect, if it's going to be in double digits, that it's not rebounds for Jokic. His rebounding prop tonight is 12.5. So if he can continue the other two categories and pick up a couple more boards, boom, plus 200, that 2-to-1 number to have a triple-double.
Yeah, it is. You want to include that in a parlay piece? That's nice, plus 200. A round-robin piece, you can certainly do that. The one thing that we love about the Joker is what? If you take the triple-double, he never has an off night. What I mean by this is, unless he gets hurt, which apparently he doesn't get hurt either, it's like, does he ever have a 36-3 game? Like, never. Like, it's always like, ooh, at least a mandatory double-double, and he just misses by a rebound or two or an assist or two. That's when you love taking those plays, because it's not a minus 145 bet. You're getting 2 plus 200 plus 300 on a night-to-night basis that you know is a great wager every night, because all you can ask for when you're taking dog prices, Ben, is a chance to hit that. When you say, like, hey, I'm going to take Dante DiVincenzo to hit 6 threes, and he hits none of them, you're like, well, that was a terrible bet at this point. But Jokic always keeps you in the ballgame. That's what we love about it. So every day on a night-to-night basis, you can't go wrong with betting that triple-double for him.
No triple-doubles in this series. Maybe he is due. Also in a 40-point, 13-assist performance in Game 5. 0 turnovers as well. Nikola Jokic continues to show why he is the best basketball player on planet Earth. My best bet for game number 6, my favorite bet for this 6th game tonight in Minnesota, Aaron Gordon, 1 made 3 at minus 130. AG's points prop is 14.5, a number he has been over in 3 of the 5 games in this series, 2 straight for Denver. 27 in game 4, 18 in game number 5. He has made at least 2 triples in both of the games in the Twin Cities. I think you're getting a discounted number. And as JY said earlier in the show, we wonder what the defensive adjustments are going to be for Minnesota tonight. They can't just keep letting Rudy Gobert try to guard Nikola Jokic one-on-one. Those are some kickouts for Aaron Gordon behind the line. You only need 1 3 at minus 130. To find a best bet elsewhere in the sports landscape before we say farewell and goodbye, it is now time for bye-bye-bye. Donnie, right side on this Thursday, what is your best bet?
Yeah, RBI props haven't been too kind to me Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but we're going to stick with the numbers that get us most profitability, and that's going to be another RBI prop tonight. Justin Steele, we're going to go up against him today. That is in Chicago. First thing you take a look at, where the wind's blowing. They're blowing out. 68 degrees at first pitch, 7-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. We're going to take a look at a Pittsburgh Pirate. It's right-handed batter Connor Joe. Take a look at this. Steele, over the past 30 days against right-handed batters. He's a left-handed pitcher. 259 ISO, 370 weighted on base percentage. Connor Joe, 29 at-bats against lefties in the past month, a 444 ISO and a 519 weighted on base percentage, plus 165 currently right now at the FanDuel Sportsbook, plus money. That's where we're heading. Connor Joe for the RBI today.
The first round of the PGA Championship already underway in Louisville at Valhalla, and we are seeing easy scoring conditions. Xander Schauffele, 5 under in his first 9 holes. He sits atop the leaderboard. Tony Finau not far behind at 4 under. Hovland's 3 under. Jordan Spieth is 3 under. Rory McIlroy is 2 under. And we all await Scotty Scheffler to get on the course at 2:23 p.m. Eastern Time. His birdie or better prop on FanDuel is 5.5 to go over its plus money. The boys are going low today to start off the 2024 PGA Championship. And let me just say this. I think Caitlin Clark makes her adjustment tonight in terms of her second NBA game. Only had 3 assists in her opener. Her prop tonight also 5.5. Plus money to the over for Scotty Scheffler, 5.5 birdies. Plus money to the over in a big way in terms of Caitlin Clark's assist prop in her home debut tonight in Indianapolis. Couple that with Aaron Gordon minus 130. There's a big Thursday card for you here on the early line. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. He's Donnie. I'm Ben. A Friday on TEL starts at 8 a.m. Eastern.